So in this video, we're going to talk about attendance, and we're going to answer three major questions. The first one is, as an educator, where do I go to take the attendance? The second question is, what does it look like for a student to be considered present in any given day? And the third one is, what does the full attendance cycle look like for you, the educator? So let's go ahead and answer the first question. First thing is, go ahead and click on My HISD. Once you're there, go find Power Teacher Pro. It has the A+ symbol right here. Once you're inside, you are going to go ahead and sign in with your username and password. This is the same username and password that we use for everything in HISD, so you should have no problem with this. Once you are signed in, they want you to click on the start page. You should see a list of all your courses. Find the course you want to take the attendance for, and then click on the chair icon. So I'm going to show you what this looks like in an internet browser. And so once you're in Power Teacher Pro, you are going to see this. You actually don't need to click on the start page because this will already be the home page. But find the class you want to take attendance for. Let's say it's second period. I found it. Find the chair icon, click on it. I can't do that right now because school hasn't started, so it's grayed out for me. But let's just say I could. I'll click into it, and let's go back to the PowerPoint to see what you do once you're inside. And once you're inside, you have to consider four things. You have to consider, one, the attendance code, and the attendance code is right here. And so the question is, what does it have to be marked as? And it's present. By default, it should already be marked as present, but if it's not, just make sure it is. The second one is the date. You must always consider the date. By default, it will always be the current date, but there are instances where you're gonna have to go back in time to adjust any of attendance. So just make sure we are keeping track of the correct date. The next step is, based on the student's attendance, you're gonna mark RA for present and AT as absent. So for example, if Justin was present, you'd write RA. If Jeremy was absent, you mark AT. And so that solves question number one. Where do you go to do attendance? Power Teacher Pro. And so let's go ahead and answer question number two. What do students have to do to be considered present? And so a student can do one of three things. The first one is attend a synchronous Teams lesson. So if they attend a synchronous Teams lesson, they'll be marked as present. If they complete a hub assignment or activity, they'll also be marked as present. So that's the first two methods. The third method is they engage in some sort of conversation or email with you outside of Teams or the hub, showcasing that they completed the assignment's work, either through a text image or an email that they sent to you. So again, there are three methods for a student to be considered present in any given day. And that is 1, team synchronous learning, 2, hub assignment or activity, or 3, some sort of off-the-road communication, that is email, text, etc. So let's talk about these three things in a little bit more detail, and what does it look like for you as a teacher to keep a record of these things, or where can I find these things? The first one, Teams meeting. So whenever you have a Teams meeting, you have the ability to download the attendance sheet for that Teams meeting. And so how does that look like? And what do you have to do after you've downloaded that attendance sheet? So the first thing is, after you've downloaded the attendance sheet, so there's a video right here showing you how to do that, but I'll actually show you in this video. You want to rename it. So rename it with your last name, the period, and then the date. You want to save it into the OneDrive folder for that class. And so I'm going to show you step by step what that looks like. So let's say you are in your Teams lesson, and so the class is winding down, it's ending right now. And so what do you have to do before you close the meeting? Click on the participant tab, click on the ellipses, a drop-down menu should appear, click download attendance list. After you clicked on it, it will download either to your desktop or downloads or some folder that you set it to. Once you've done that, it will save as a CSV file right here. And as you see, I've already renamed it, and to be a little more accurate, today is the 6th. So 9/6/2020, I've saved it right here. And so what does that look like if you opened it? It looks like this. Has the student's name, the action, and then the timestamp and date that they participated. And so this is what that file looks like. So after I've saved it, now where do I save it? You need to save it in your OneDrive. And so how do you get there? You go to Office 365, you scroll to the bottom, OneDrive, go to OneDrive, click on it. Once you've clicked on it, what I would recommend and advise you to do is go ahead and make a separate folder for each period and click attendance. So if that CSV file that I had was first period, I'd save it, I'd drag it here, I'd drop it, and then I'd track attendance. And so you need to do this for every single period. And so this is just some way for you to keep a record of your attendance, and we'll address more of the nitty-gritty of needing all this information once we're back on campus. So that's how you save your attendance on your Teams meeting, and this is also how you save it to your OneDrive. A second mention and thought is you have to be the organizer of the Teams meeting, or else you will not be able to just do this. If you are the organizer, you can, but if you're not, you won't be able to. So make sure you keep that in mind. Let's continue. So the next thing is, how do you keep track of your students' assignments in the hub? And so it's pretty straightforward. You go to courses, you find follow-up and reports, you find the assignment reports tab, click on it. They'll have a drop-down list of students and your assignment, and they'll show you which students have submitted and not submitted an assignment. And so let me go ahead and show you. So once you're inside of the hub, you want to go ahead and click courses. And so once you're in the course, you find the course you want to get the attendance for, or I'm sorry, track the assignment attendance for. And then I'll just go first period. And from there, click follow up and reports. So click on follow up and reports. Find the assignment reports. And there it is. This is where you can see students have complete assignments or not. And so you don't have to document anything because it's already documented inside of the hub. But this is how you can easily keep track of if students have done an assignment or not, and record that in your attendance sheet. So let's continue. And so if your student engages in some sort of communication outside of the hub or Teams, you have to create an Excel sheet or spreadsheet and keep track of that. So you have to consider the student's name, the ID, the date, and then what they actually completed and assigned. So we saw two questions so far. The first one is, where do you track attendance? Power Teacher Pro. The second one is, how can a student be considered present in a day? And that's by synchronous learning on Teams, completing an assignment through the hub. And then I showed you what does it look like. I'm sorry, and the last one is through that engagement outside of those two methods. And then I showed you what does it look like you, the teacher, to document those things or track those things. And so the last thing that we have to talk about for a student's attendance is they have a full day to complete an assignment. That means they have from 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. of that day to complete an assignment. No more, no less. So, for example, let's say September 8th, you have an assignment. They have until 11:59 p.m. to complete that assignment to be considered present. Or they have until 11:59 to engage in some sort of conversation with you to be considered present. If, for example, Jonathan wakes up at 5 p.m., completes his assignment at 12:01, even though he completed the assignment, he did not complete it in the correct time frame, so he's still marked as absent. So you have to keep that in mind. They only have a 24-hour window to complete an assignment. No more, no less, to be considered absent or considered present. And so the last question is, what does a full attendance cycle look like? And so this is kind of tricky, so make sure you stick with me during this section. So an attendance cycle, the first point of time where you would consider attendance is ADA time. Although it says 11 a.m. right here, for us, it is going to be 10:30. And so at 10:30, you're either going to be in second period or sixth period. And so what you need to do is go ahead and track the attendance for that class in Power Teacher Pro. And so remember, if they engage in one of those three methods with you by 10:30, they're marked as present. If not, they're absent. And so at that point, you would have already seen first and second, or depending on the day, fifth or sixth. And so what I'm going to say is this, that ADA period is the most important period to track attendance, right? This doesn't mean that first period and fifth period does not matter for tracking attendance. You have to track attendance for them, but you have to make sure you track attendance for second period and sixth period at ADA time. No questions. That has to happen. Okay? So let's do an example. 30 students in your class. 25 students are there. They've engaged either through the hub assignment or by synchronous learning or by email. And so that means 5 students are absent. 30 students total, 25 are present. So 25 are present, you shift them to this box. Those 5 you mark as absent. So now the next time you have to consider attendance is at 3:30 p.m. that same day. So what you do is you fill out the attendance sheet for all your other periods, but you have to go back and make sure that second period, that ADA period, you check in on those 5 students and make sure, did any of those engage in one of those 3 methods between 10:30 and 3:30? And let's say 2 of them did. So you go back into Power Teacher Pro, you change them from absent to present. So now you only have 3 as absent. And so now you have 27 as present. So that's the second time. Okay? And so after 3:30, you have a 24-hour period. Again, after that 3:30, you have a 24-hour period to one last time check in on those last 3 students to see, okay, did they engage in any of my assignments? And did they complete any of my assignments? Right? You as a teacher have a 24-hour period, but you have to remember the student does not have an additional 24-hour period. They only have until 11:59 p.m. Okay, so let me give you an example. Out of those 3 students, you have 1 student, right? You have 1 student that completes the work at 10 p.m. You can mark them as present. The second student completes the work at 12:30 a.m. You cannot mark that student as present. Because why? They didn't complete it in the correct time frame. Okay? And so there are 3 points in time you will take attendance. Okay? 10:30 ADA time, 3:30 p.m. that same day, and then after 3:30, you have an additional 24-hour period to make sure your ADA period is up to date and current as possible. Okay? So 3 time periods, make sure we are doing that. Again, you're going to take attendance for all your periods, but your ADA period is the one you have to constantly go back and consider and check. And so the next day, it talks about this. By 3:30 p.m. the next day, all teachers check engagement for students who were marked absent the previous day. Between 2:30 p.m. and 11:59 the previous day, right? Did the students participate in any of those things? Yes. Present? No. And then the third day, that's not on us. What's going to happen is the attendance clerk will go ahead and check between all the teachers and classes and mark that student and make sure everything is in order, right? So again, for us, we have a 48-hour period to consider one day. Okay, so again, let me provide one example. So September 8th, right? You have the until 3:30 on September 9th to get attendance correct for September 8th. Okay, let's say we're Friday, right? Friday, you have Friday, Monday, 3:30 p.m. to get the attendance right for Friday. Okay, so again, make sure we understand that there are 3 points of attendance you have to consider every single time for every single day. ADA time, 10:30. 3:30 p.m. that same day. And then the last one is in a 24-hour time span, by 3:30 the next day, you have to check attendance again fully for the previous day. Okay? If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Thank you guys.